Okay, would someone volunteer to offer prayer for us before we start? Okay.
Dear Heavenly Father, we Sabbath day. Just praise you and thank you for that. We pray for clarity and wisdom and understanding. We pray that your spirit will rest upon my life. That ears will be able to hear, our hearts will be able to comprehend, our brains will be able to understand. Thank you and praise you on this day, your day, the day that we all ourselves aside to focus on you and pray that you will do that and honor you and
Okay. If you're going to be following along, you're going to be in Matthew 24. Not where you think we're going to be, though, for the most part. Just as a review, we've gone through Matthew 24 on a couple of occasions, and I would encourage you to be familiar with Matthew 24. But the point that I want to begin with, which we're familiar with, is verse 15. When ye therefore, Messiah is speaking, and he says, when ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. So we have to go back to Daniel. The abomination that stands in the holy place you'll find in Daniel chapter 3, verses 1 through 5. Okay? And there it talks about Nebuchadnezzar building the statue that was 60 cubits tall, which is about 90 feet, and 6 cubits wide, which is about 9 feet wide. And everybody was commanded to bow down to the image. Okay? And we know that that's an abomination because of Exodus 20, verses 4, 5, and 6. Daniel chapter 3, verses 1 through 5. Now, this is just for your reference now, okay? And then the reason it's an abomination is because of Exodus 20, 4, 5, and 6. Remember, Messiah said in Matthew 24:15, when ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place. So it's some kind of an image standing or erected. The holy place is where? The Temple Mount. Okay? So when you see this, now what's the other part of Daniel's prophecy? There you'll find it in chapter 9, 9 and 12. Chapter 9 in particular, verse 27, and he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. In the midst of the week is 7, right? This is not 7 days, but 7 years. In the midst, okay, will be the what? In the middle, and it's the ceasing of, it says, cause the sacrifice and oblation to cease. That's the morning and evening sacrifice. Now, if you're in question about that, he repeats this in chapter 12, verse 11. It's even clearer. And from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that marketh desolate set up, there shall be 1,290 days. So the beginning of the last 3.5 years is after both signs are given. The abomination is set up and the sacrifice ceases. Whether they happen at the same time or one happens first than the other, the beginning of the last 3.5 years is when they're both in place. In other words, the abomination of desolation is standing up and the daily morning and evening sacrifice has ceased. However, the time for for us to move is when the abomination stands in the holy place. So we need to be aware of both things where Daniel is concerned. The time that if you're in Israel to move to the mountains of the wilderness of Judea is when the abomination is standing in the holy place. If it stands in the holy place before the altar and the morning and evening sacrifice is shut down, you're to move. You're not to wait for it to shut down. Or if it's shut down first and then the abomination is erected, that's when you move. Okay? So we've gone over this on numerous occasions, and we have a tendency to stop at verse 36. This is going through when Messiah was asked what sign should be of the end and his coming. He's stepping through this. And he kind of concludes at verse 36. But the day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. The day of the hour knoweth no man, but my Father which in heaven. This can be a reference to what feast day? Pardon? Trumpets. Why trumpets?
It was on the moon cycle.
What was that?
It's the moon cycle in the early.
No, it's the moon. The Feast of Trumpets is the only feast day that begins on a new moon. And no man knows the day or the hour, because the dark of the moon can last anywhere from 1.5 to 3 days. So you have to be watching for it and looking for it. But no man knows the exact day or the exact hour that it's going to be seen. See? All right, now we're going to pick it up from here. I was all ready to do something different this morning, preparing for that, and the Lord just jumped on me. And with this question, are you watching? I knew what he meant, so I asked my wife while we were in the kitchen. I said, are you watching for the Lord's coming? And she paused for a moment. She said, not as much as I should be, but I am praying about it. Not as much as I should be. Is that where we are? You have to answer that for yourself. Are you watching for the Lord's coming with expectation? By knowing the signs of the times. That's the watching. I'm going to read some things what Messiah said. Messiah answered the question posed to him by his disciples. What is the sign of the end of the ages and your return? And we just went through all of these signs. Okay? Then listen to what he says. Verses 37 through 39. But as the days of Noah were, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. So are you building your ark? Are you building your ark individually, spiritually, and temporally? Husbands, heads of families, are you building the spiritual and temporal ark for your family? We've been going through some types and shadows, talking about the wall and what was the wall surrounding the city and how it applied to us as individuals. The armor. The armor. What's going to be your ark? Part of it. It's part of the spiritual armor. Are you building your ark individually? Husbands, are you building your ark for your families? It applies here. Is the leadership involved in helping all of us build our arks spiritually and temporally? See the application? Verses 40 through 42. Then shall two be in the field, the one shall be taken and the other left. Two women shall be grinding at the mill, the one shall be taken and the other left. Watch, therefore, for ye know not what hour your Lord doth come. Watch, therefore. Now, I've heard this verse, these verses used to substantiate the rapture. Taken, right? Okay? I'm going to throw another understanding for your consideration. One taken, one remains. The first one, it just says, two shall be in the field. It doesn't say men or women. Two shall be in the field. Then it says, two women shall be grinding at the mill. One taken and one left. Turn to Ezekiel 20. You're all familiar with this. Beginning with verse 35. This is where those not in the land of Israel are to depart when they see the sign, and that is to the wilderness of the people. Beginning with verse 35. And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face, like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt. So will I plead with you, saith the Lord God. And I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant. What's it mean to pass under the rod? Counted. Correct. Counted. And bring you into the bond of the covenant. Verse 38. And I will purge out from among you the rebels, and them that transgress against me. One in the field, and one taken. The purging out. The purging out. I'm putting this in context of the timing. See? Messiah says, when you see these things, and then he comes in to watch. And if we make the connection, the timing fits. He's purging out. Okay? Verse 44. Therefore be also ready, for in such an hour as you think not, the Son of Man cometh. Pardon? I'm back to Matthew. Yeah. Matthew 24:44. This is the third implication of not knowing the exact hour in these few verses that I've read so far. Now, verses 44, 45 to the end. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord hath made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season? Who is that servant? Rulers. It says, who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom the Lord hath made ruler over his household? Are you a ruler? Are you a ruler? This is a trick question. Are you, as an individual, a ruler over his household?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. What's his house? You are the temple of, the Lord. All right? The holy place is your heart. So yes, you are a ruler over his household. So he's referring to you. Household. What's his household? Members of his family. His body, his church, right? To give them meat. What meat are you to give? Spiritual food.
Meat is always referred to as basically the instructions. The definition is actually located in another scripture.
Yeah,
Hebrews.
but I want to focus on on spiritual food, okay?
Right, it's the deeper understanding spiritual food. It's not the surface level, not the milk, it's the meat.
Well, I'm not in this case, but this is just the spiritual food. What is your spiritual food that you have to give?
Gifts.
Exactly. Each one of us has at least one gift, okay? At least one spiritual gift. All right? That's the meat that you're to impart. What's it mean in due season?
Correct.
At the correct time. At the whose correct time? The Spirit's correct time. I've given this analogy before. If the Spirit moves upon me and prompts me that says I'm supposed to go over and talk to Will and Lori, I don't want to go talk to Will and Lori, but that's the Spirit's prompted me to do that. Instead, I go somewhere else. I go downtown Kansas City and I start preaching on a street corner, and I have half a dozen people listen and decide to make a commitment to the Lord. Enter into covenant relationship with Him. Wow. It's a good work, right? No. It's a dead work. Now, it's a good work for the people who received the message. For me, it was a dead work because I was not imparting my meat as I was led by the Spirit. I didn't go talk to Will and Lori. See? In due season, at the appropriate time. Okay? So then, who is a faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord hath made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season? Blessed is that, verse 46, blessed is that servant whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing. So doing. When he comes, we're to be watching for his return. When he comes, if we're faithful and wise servants, what will we be doing when he comes? Whatever it is his Spirit has instructed us to do. Okay? And he goes on, verily I say unto you that ye shall make him ruler over all his goods. But and if that evil servant shall say in his heart, my Lord delayeth his coming. My Lord delayeth his coming. That's the biggest risk that we face. I've heard it amongst brethren I'm close to. Oh, I've been making preparation and thinking this coming was good for several years now, and you know it hasn't happened yet, and well, I'm disgruntled. Not necessarily throw it all away, but right back to taking care of life's business at hand. Yes, we have to do that, but what has Messiah said? Where your heart, where your treasure is, there's where your heart is. So is your treasure focused on the everyday things of life, or is your treasure in watching for him? And then you have to do the things that you have to do. It's kind of like Will and I working. It's such a blessing. We have to be there. We have to do certain things. It's expected of us to further this project. But is our heart on the project? No. We talk about spiritual things. We listen to spiritual things. That's where our mind and our hearts are, even though we have to go through the mechanics of furthering this project. Okay? But where's your heart? Where's your heart? I was thinking of this analogy. I was thinking of you ladies with small children. And I've been guilty of this, referring to our children as my children. My children. But they're not mine. The Lord corrected me of that many years ago. What scriptures say? The fruit of the womb is the Lord's reward. They belong to Him. We have a stewardship for a period of time. Then He reminded me this morning, well, Michael, you're 68, almost 69 years of age, but guess what? You're still a fruit of the womb. Yeah, I'm still a fruit of the womb. I'm still one of His children. The fruit of the womb is the Lord's reward. Okay? But it's easy to get distracted with life's necessities. Where's our heart? Verse 50, the Lord of that servant shall come in a day when he looketh not for him, and in an hour that he is not aware of, and shall cut him asunder, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. You notice when I read verse 42, watch therefore, for you know not what hour your Lord cometh. He didn't say you may not know the day. So is watching important? Yeah. If so much so, if we turn to Matthew 25, verse 13, he repeats it again. Watch therefore, for ye know neither the day nor the hour wherein the Son of Man cometh. Now the day comes into play. Why? As I mentioned, the dark of the moon can be anywhere from 1.5 to 3 days. So you don't know the day. Let's go to Mark chapter 13. Beginning with verse 33. Mark 13, verse 33 through 37. Take ye heed, watch, and pray, for ye know not when the time is. For the Son of Man is as a man taking a far journey, who left his house, and gave authority to his servants, and to every man his work, and commanded the porter to watch. Every man his work. Do you not have your work? He has a work for you if you do not know what it is. Okay? Every man his work. And commanded the porter to watch. Watch ye therefore, for you know not when the master of the house cometh, at even, or at midnight, or at the cock crowing, or in the morning. Those are all daylight times, right? Oh, careful, will you nod your head? I said these are all, I was being a little facetious, these are all daylight times, right? No. They're all night times. Okay? Lest coming suddenly he find you sleeping, and what I say unto you, I say unto all, watch.
So, are we supposed to stay after 3 days?
The emphasis is for you to be watching. To be watching. Not be asleep. And that's spiritually asleep. Okay? I'll turn to Luke chapter 12. I'm just going to show you in Matthew, Mark, and Luke the repetition of this, showing us how important it really is. Luke chapter 12. Beginning with verse 33. You go 33 through 40. Again, Messiah is speaking, and he says, sell that ye have, and give alms. Provide yourselves bags which wax not old, a treasure in the heavens that faileth not, where no thief approacheth, neither moth corrupteth. Okay? For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. Let your loins be girded about, and your lights burning, and ye yourselves like unto men that wait for their Lord when he will return from the wedding, that when he cometh and knocketh, they may open unto him immediately. Blessed are those servants whom the Lord, when he cometh, shall find watching. Verily I say unto you, that he shall gird himself, and make them to sit down to meat, and will come forth and serve them. And if he shall come in the second watch, or in the third watch, and find them so, blessed are those servants. And this know, that if the good man of the house had known what hour the thief would come, he would have watched and not have suffered his house to be broken through. Be ye therefore ready also, for the Son of Man cometh at an hour when ye think not. And finally, Luke chapter 21. Beginning with verse 8. And we're going to go all the way through 36. Starting with verse 8, Messiah says, Take heed that ye be not deceived, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and the time draweth near. Go ye not therefore after them. He repeated what he said in Matthew 24. But when ye shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by. Nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom, and great earthquakes shall be in divers places, and famines and pestilences, and fearful sights, and great signs shall be from heaven. But before all these, they shall lay their hands on you, and persecute you, delivering you up to the synagogues, and unto prisons, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. And it shall turn to you for a testimony. Settle it therefore in your hearts, not to meditate before what ye shall answer. For I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist. That's a tremendous promise. You're not to meditate on your answer. In other words, you're not supposed to spend time thinking, what am I going to say when this happens? He'll provide the answer. And the answers, it says, shall not be, your adversary shall not be able to gainsay or nor resist. Verse 16. And ye shall be betrayed both by parents and brethren and kinsfolks and friends. Some of you shall they cause to be put to death. You're seeing this right now, taking place within our country. Okay? The betrayal of the conservative religious people. Okay? And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but there shall not be a hair of your head perish. In your patience possesses ye your souls. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. When you see Jerusalem compassed with armies, that's next on the threshold, coming up soon. Okay, aware of the signs. Verse 21, then let him which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and then let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter therein too. So if you're away, don't go back in. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days, for there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people. They shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down. That's happened once already. That's happened once already. Okay? Jerusalem was trodden down. People were scattered. 70 AD. The temple was destroyed. but it's going to reoccur. What's the prophet said? What happens to a third of the people in Jerusalem in this next Middle East war? A third of the population of Jerusalem will perish. Verse 25. Well, back to 24. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring, men's heart failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. And he spake to them a parable. Behold, the fig tree and all the trees, when they now shoot forth, ye see and know of your own selves that summer is now nigh at hand. So likewise, ye, when ye see these things come to pass, know ye that the kingdom of God is nigh at hand. You can't see these things come to pass if you're not watching. You don't have to be a student of them that it consumes you, but we're to watch, know the signs of the times. Verse 32, verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass away, till all be fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall not pass away. And take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged for surfeiting and drunkenness and cares of this life, and so that day come upon you unawares. For as a snare shall it come on all them that dwell on the face of the whole earth. As a snare. What's a snare?
Trap.
A trap. Here it is, verse 36. Watch ye therefore, and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man. There will be those who will escape and stand before the Son of Man when he returns. Will it be those that aren't watching? If you're not watching, you'll be caught in the snare. If you're not making spiritual and physical preparations to the point as he leads, you're going to be caught in a snare. Okay? I love this promise because it's not in Matthew or Mark. Watch ye therefore and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man. You have that opportunity to watch and pray always, so that you can be counted worthy to stand before the Son of Man when he returns. So as we move ahead individually, asking the Lord what it is he wants to do through you, where he wants you to go. We're not to be hampered or governed by fear, even as these things get more traumatic. Things are happening all around, and it's not time to hunker down. Maybe. If he says, I want you to go talk to so-and-so, and so-and-so's over in Johnson County, Kansas. Pardon? He'll provide a way. I think one of the most precious testimonies concerning the Lord's safety and being obedient to doing what He asks you to do, when He asks you to do it, happened to our oldest son, Robert, when they were in Joliet, Illinois, and at that time their ministry was focused primarily on gangs, street gangs in Joliet and Chicago. And this could be a very perilous kind of ministry. They would meet and they would pray about going out. Before they would go out and leave, they would pray, and the Lord would give them instruction on which street corner they were to go to, what time they were to be there. And sometimes He would give, they knew that that's where they were to go, then He'd say, don't go tonight. And invariably, on more than one occasion, there was a shooting on that very corner. So He was looking out after them because they were willing to be obedient. And one day, he and one of his associates were prompted to go talk to someone in a neighborhood that was very much Hispanic, very much very strong gang ties. And so they were there, and when they finished, they were getting ready to leave, and in the middle of the next block were a bunch of gang members standing out around their car, some up on the porch in the house, and the sidewalks running right in between. The very direction that they needed to go to return back to their ministry location. So they started walking. And these particular gang people don't want to have anything to do with whites. And here they were on their turf. And Rob and the other young man just walked right on the sidewalk. They didn't get off the sidewalk. Okay? Why? It's public. Public access. The Lord prompted them to get off the sidewalk. They went right on the sidewalk, right on through the middle. These guys were talking. Some of them looked right at them and did not see them. Like they looked right through them as if they were invisible. They walked right on by, and nothing happened. Obedience. Watchful. Being watchful. Being obedient. Do not be fearful. One of the first things Messiah said in Matthew 24 is, fear not. All right? But we need to be engaged in the things that He's called us to be doing. I'm going to close with this. I'm going to ask you for your patience with me ahead of time. In 1986, when the Lord gave us the commission to come here, it was for a very specific purpose, to help prepare a place for the gathering of the Lamanites. Now, I knew where that was basically going to be, in this area, this Temple Lot area. A lot of time has gone by, and I knew when that instruction was given that helping prepare a place had to do with physical, not just spiritual. That there would be physical buildings involved, whether they were tents or whatever, but physical structures would be involved. And was waiting, even thought that I had missed it over the years, and the Lord had to do a lot of work within me spiritually in preparation for this. And he never told me the place, but then he did just a few years ago. And that place would be the city, New Jerusalem. All right? Some more time went by. And while we were in New York, Will gives me a call and wants to know if I'd consider coming back and helping him build a pole barn for his dad. He said, I don't have time to get on the internet and research it and everything else, would you? And I said, well, let me pray about it. And I did. And the Lord's answer to me was simply this. That was to be one of the first structures I was to be involved in building in preparation for that gathering. So it's a goat barn true. But for me, that's not its purpose. Okay? So then I knew the times is at hand. So there's spiritual preparation and temporal preparation that needs to take place. So my wife will tell you, I can have the tendency to, all right, this is what we're supposed to do. Boom. All right? So I need to be careful because, all right, let's do it. Okay? You know, get off your duffs, people. So be patient with me because I'm going to be very focused. But I need to be patient. But I share that because I know the time is now and at hand. Not to get lulled to sleep. I was thinking of current events and some things that have recently taken place. CNN admitted that they published a false story about one of Trump's administration advisors and meeting with a Russian ambassador. It was totally false. And 3 of their editorial department resigned. Okay? Then you've had some other things that seem to be a reprieve. The Supreme Court, his travel ban, or President's travel ban went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court upheld his travel ban, almost all of it, and they're going to hear official, whatever they call it, between attorneys here in this fall. However, you know what the vote was, folks? 9-0 in favor. That he was right. He had the right to do what he did for his reasons. Don't let these things that are apparently good news to us, that you become lax. We have a window of opportunity. This is not a time of reprieve. And I would encourage you to, if you haven't seen it, heard it, watch Jonathan Cahn talking about our president as a type for Jehu. It's about 50 minutes long. I'd strongly encourage you to listen to it, watch it, listen to it. It's right on. I shared it with our son in Illinois when we were there for Pam's mother's passing. He's familiar with Jonathan Cahn. He's very familiar with his Bible. And the minute I told him that Jonathan Cahn had made the analogy of Trump and Jehu, and he said, oh my gosh, yes. Even the temperament. Okay? Knowing what the story was for Israel, even with Jehu, Jehu brought him an opportunity to turn back to the Lord. Even the religious leaders were in support. And he was cleaning house in government. He took care of Jezebel in short order. But what happened? What did Israel do? They didn't accept the opportunity, and as a result, came under drastic consequences a few years later down the road. This is not a reprieve. We have a window of opportunity, and we need to make the most of it under the Lord's direction. Okay?